your source of news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner. And with me today is Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Samuel King, and Chief Financial Officer, Dr. Michael Thornton. Thank you both for joining me on NPS Now.
Happy to be here. It's good
Great to have you here. Dr. King, we'll just jump right into it.
Yes.
You recently shared your proposed 2014-2015 budget with the school board.
Yes.
What does that budget proposal entail?
Well, I will begin by saying that we're in a pretty unique situation at this point because we're in the midst of implementation of the first year of our strategic plan. And thus, as we prepare for the upcoming budget, we're looking forward to what we refer to as Phase 1, Year 2. So our discussions have been based around the needs for the upcoming school year, the upcoming fiscal cycle. And so that discussion with the board, the governance leadership team, and with Dr. Thornton's finance committee has really been around what are the priorities linked to the strategic plan, what are the action plans and action steps that will really position us to make progress related to our students, so really being student focused. So the real process is really about linking how we invest our dollars in children in a way that it aligns with the strategic plan itself. And that's a work in progress. And the committee is made up of stakeholders for the first time this year. And so I'm very comfortable with the conversations, courageous conversations. We know we have challenges around funding, but we also know that we have to stay focused on what the needs of the school division really are.
So what will this proposed budget support?
Well, there are certain items that we all know are those things that must be considered. And many times that's driven by the state, driven by circumstances, let's just say. For example, we will incur mandatory increases in state retirement costs. That's an example of an item that's out of your control, so that does impact our budget. Moving forward, we're looking at an increase in health insurance costs. That is a non-negotiable. It goes into the whole process of building the budget, and of course there are no choices around that, and we must support that. However, we're also looking at restoring the state-mandated instructional technology resource teachers, those positions, and doing it incrementally. So I mentioned that as a real positive because we know that we must continue to upgrade our technology infrastructure and our support for technology for teachers, staff, as well as the things that we need to do for students to properly prepare them as well. So that's an item that's being considered in the budget. And continued phase-in of locally funded school nurses. That's a piece that's very important for us.
Give us a little background on that right there, Dr. King, about the school nurses piece.
Well, we would like to be able to support that whole notion in a way that we have school nurses at each one of our locations. And so that is the intent, but when you cost it out, it can become so costly until we are required to do a phase-in. And so that's another piece that we're working around now to see that come to fruition.
Okay.
And of course, when you add the nurse at the site, then you want to rest assured that we have the necessary facilities and areas for that person to operate, so that we can meet the needs of students.
And in the past, they were funded by the state or the city?
Well, that was a combination of support in the past from both. So,
both. Okay.
So we're excited about moving forward with that. Of course, the whole notion of supporting Crossroads, the DKH school that's already open, that continues. We're adding the 8th grade. You know, it's a yearly process for that new school. And so when you add another grade, you also add staff. And so that's a cost in the budget as well.
Okay. So what does this budget not include?
Okay. When you consider the things that are not included, one is that of the reductions to the core instructional programs and offerings. So that's a key piece. That means that this budget proposal has been built around a focus on the classroom. So again, that we're working to have the least impact on instruction and on the business at hand, which really centers on the classroom. So the budget does not reflect those items that would greatly negatively impact, have a great negative impact on the classroom itself. So we'll continue to have that focus as we continue the discussions. So hopefully we'll be able to stand strong and firm with that. Also, additional funding for facility maintenance and improvements. That's an ongoing challenge for us. We are supporting the whole facilities maintenance process as it has been, but many of us, as we review that, feel that we're going to be required to make some adjustments with the needs there, but it's not reflected in this budget at this point, which means that we will have what we have had in the budget to support the maintenance piece, the facilities maintenance piece. So, but that's an ongoing discussion. That's not an additional, let's just say, amount in the budget at this point, over and beyond what we have had to support schools. Okay. No additional funding for school bus replacements at this time. You know, the system has replaced buses at a certain level, and however, there are needs, and however, that's not reflected in the budget at this point either. Lastly, increases in staff compensation. At this point, our budget proposal shows no increases in that area, but we will be moving forward with continuous review of that item as well, and as well as the others that we mentioned, because it is simply that now, a proposal. And we'll enter into joint review to see if there are things that we need to tweak or modify. So that's where we are.
Good. And Dr. Thornton, I'm going to bring you in here. How much are we requesting in the budget for this year?
Well, the 2014-15 proposed budget, as presented by Dr. King on last Wednesday, totals $321.1 million. That represents a $9.1 million increase, or 2.9% increase over the current year's operating budget. The state portion of that funding would be approximately $181.9 million, which represents a very modest increase compared to this year. In terms of local funding requests within that proposal, the request totals $126.3 million, which represents an $11.1 million increase over the current year local support level. And it's critical for us to do some of those things that Dr. King mentioned to advance the strategic plan, that we receive that additional local support beyond what we've received in the past. The city has been supportive in the recent years, where the state has reduced funding, the city has stepped up, and this request would ask the city to step up even more going forward.
So what are some of the key changes to the budget you see?
Well, Dr. King mentioned some of the mandatory increases that have costs associated with them, including increases in state retirement costs. That's approximately $4.5 million increase over the current year, as well as increases in health insurance costs for the school division to provide health insurance for employees. It also includes, as Dr. King mentioned, funding to support the increase in the number of ITRT, or instructional technology resource teachers. Again, that's a state requirement. Funding to support the incremental change in the school nurse program to provide an RN at each school. So it includes several items that will represent what we consider to be mandatory cost increases.
So what are some of the reductions proposed to balance the budget?
Of course, you know that the school division has many needs, as Dr. King has also mentioned. However, our resources are limited. So in this process, we've had to identify nearly $8 million in cost reductions to support, in order for us to support those required increases. So again, $8 million in reductions. Those center around non-school-based operating costs, approximately $4 million, resulting from turnover and attrition. As well, this proposal would reduce approximately 58 classroom positions to realign our classroom staffing with recent enrollment decline. We would also achieve that through attrition, through voluntary separations, retirements during the normal course of any school year. So no one would lose their job. It would just come through normal attrition and turnover.
And that's good to know, because last year I think we had the same situation where we just had attrition, but folks weren't losing jobs.
Correct, correct. That's a commitment of the superintendent and the school board, that no one would lose a job as we try to balance this budget. We have 85% of your budget is directed towards personnel and support, and you have to make the kind of reductions that we've had to make over the last several years that you can't avoid making some compensation reductions.
How are we handling the energy costs, like transportation costs? Being that we have the new VHSL rules, the travel time for sports and things of that nature, how are we factoring that into our budget?
Well, the VHSL rules have changed, where we have more teams traveling further distances for regional play, but we'll factor that in to the existing operating budget. So we don't anticipate a significant increase driven by VHSL participation.
Okay, great. Well, I think it's a great time to take a break. And when we return, we're going to discuss more of the 2014-2015 budget coming up next. Welcome back to NPS Now. We're talking about the 2014-2015 proposed school board budget. And we want to remind all of our viewers that on March 5th at Granby High School at 7 p.m. there will be a public hearing on the budget. Now, Dr. King, how does the proposed budget advance the district's plan?
Total alignment, and I'm happy to say that that's a huge step forward for us. Total alignment meaning decisions that are made related to the budget really linked to the strategic plan. And in the items that have been discussed with the governance leadership team, each item reflects where that alignment really takes place, where the strategies that are impacted, the action plan and action steps that are impacted, so that hopefully as we do this work, we will all become accustomed to seeing that link to the impact that should be made based on focusing on delivery of the strategic plan. Mm-hmm. So in terms of advancing that notion is very important to do so.
You mentioned earlier on phase 1, year 2. Mm-hmm. How many phases do we have?
We have a 5-year strategic plan, 2 phases. Phase 1 consists of the first 2 years. We're in the midst of implementation of year 1 as we speak. The budget preparation for next year centers on phase 1, year 2. And so once we complete next school year, that cycle, then we will have completed phase 1 of the implementation process for the strategic plan. Then we move into phase 2, which would be year 3, year 4. And then the last step would be the 5th year, which is what we call renewal. Because though each year, routinely throughout the year, you revisit where you are with the delivery of the action steps. How much impact are you having? Are we moving forward? So a quality check throughout the year. But that last year is what we call renewal, because you want to go back to look at the impact of the full body of work, the previous 4 to 5 years, and look forward to developing the plan going forward into the next 5 years. So that's a little snapshot of phase 1, phase 2, and the renewal step, which is the 5th year.
Okay, and part of the budget plan there is professional development.
Absolutely.
that's factored into that. What's
Yes.
the importance of having professional development in the budget?
It's of paramount importance. When you think about professional development, I like to refer to it as professional learning. For us, it centers on the building level leader and the support staff for the building level leader, as well as the classroom teacher, and being able to deliver robust training so that teachers can become not just highly qualified, but highly effective. And so seeing more and more of a result that centers on that. We have highly effective teachers right now as we speak. And so we want to see that raised to an exponent. And the way that you do that is through professional learning, training that we offer. And so we're having discussions around, how can we do this and take a look at where we are with the current professional learning days that we utilize and link those professional learning opportunities to the strategic plan needs as well. So I see that in two ways, really. You heard that I mentioned the leadership piece, which is the building level leadership piece, which will be the principal and other administrative staff. The second piece, again, that classroom teaching. However, at this division level, we must continue to analyze the necessary statistics as it qualitatively and quantitative to determine what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses this year. And so as we do that at the system level and we determine those strengths, we determine those weaknesses, then we base the professional learning around what that analysis tells us. Then we can intervene at the division level to offer training that makes a difference for the staff. And so that another piece centers on the individual school sites. Individual school sites will continue to work on building site-based plans that really support the strategic plan, because the strategic plan is the umbrella. Each school will build its site-based plan that supports the strategic plan, but it will be customized for their school as well. So that will be their plan. And some have referred to that as a school improvement plan, that kind of thing. But it is that and much more, because once they analyze their needs, much like we will do at the division level, the school site will do that to determine where are they strong, where are they weak as it relates to staff. Is it content knowledge? Is it classroom management needs? Is it delivery of instruction? Is it climate? Is it how do we support our staff? And so once those questions are answered with collaborative discussions at the school site level, then their plans for professional learning should be built around that. So a seamless process which should really have a laser-like focus on the needs of the school and ultimately give us student achievement gains.
So Dr. Thornton, question, how much are we putting aside for professional development?
This proposal includes an additional $719,000. It's also important to note that Dr. King and the school board have asked staff to take a 5-year look at many needs, including professional development. So this would be year one, down payment, if you will, on a 5-year plan towards increasing our professional development and learning for teachers and school leaders, as Dr. King mentioned.
And we also have some other initiatives in the district pre-K. How much are we allotting for pre-K this year?
This proposal would provide an additional $2 million to address the existing waiting list for 4-year-olds. We believe that this would, again, continue to advance the school division's efforts as it relates to early learning for our students.
Okay, so what is the school board's response to this proposed budget? What are their thoughts or concerns or questions?
I think we're in a good position right now with the conversations, and it is a joint conversation because when I refer to governance leadership team, that means the school board and the superintendent working together to pinpoint what will make a difference in terms of building a budget. And when I say the school board and the superintendent, of course it means the superintendent and his designees, all of the entire team, our team coming together to do the work. With that said, with Dr. Thornton developing the finance committee, we also have a member of the board on the finance committee. So there's another connection. You know, when you have those ongoing conversations, the board has been involved in that, along with principals being involved in that conversation, along with central level people being involved with that conversation, and along with the impact to the classroom teaching. That piece is in place as far as that committee. So when you have that collaborative approach around discussions linked to the strategic plan, and you present your budget to the board as a proposal, you know, you really limit the surprises.
Right.
So these are not new discussions. These are discussions that, you know we've had to embark upon in the past. So I feel good about where we are with that. But the only piece that I would remind my team of, as well as the public and all stakeholders, that we are at the proposal status right now, and this is a conversation, and we are linking it to the priorities, and we have a finite amount of money. We know that, and so the proposal can be tweaked. For example, you mentioned the early learning piece. That's extremely important for us. We know the impact that has on student achievement. You know, if we can creatively fund that in a different way, so that it frees up an opportunity to address other extremely important needs in addition to that, then we will. So that means, you know, there could be some tweaking to what you see right now, and so.
And you mentioned earlier about the ITRT. How are we funding our technology infrastructure now? The monies that we're pouring into that, how is that?
This proposal would again add an additional $4.4 million to support our existing technology infrastructure. Like anything else, technology has a useful life, and many of the technical switches and things are in the background. They're beginning to show their useful life, so they need to be replaced. It's a very costly investment, and again, this would be one of the many needs that are being looked at over a 5-year period beginning next year.
Okay, that's great. We also have the Open Campus. Aren't there some other programs that are coming up that we're funding?
Open Campus is a consideration in the proposal as well, a very important consideration, because the whole purpose of having a discussion and a consideration around Open Campus centers on meeting what I refer to as non-traditional needs. For example, as we speak, we have X number of overage middle school students, and in my opinion, we're not doing all of the necessary, we're not entering into all of the necessary steps to better address the needs of those students. Because when you have overage for grade middle school students on your middle school grounds, then you have to have interventions. And we need to get those students back on track so that we can close the gap to the point that we graduate them on time. We're not meeting that need right now. Open Campus is designed to meet that non-traditional need for a student such as the overage for grade middle schooler. Not just that piece. Another centers on high school needs, and you know that making students college and career ready, those things are very important to us. But you must prepare students and graduate them again in a timely manner. And we have students on each of our high school campuses now that really, when you look at it mathematically, they can't graduate in a timely manner because they're so far behind in credits. Even with credit recovery on the school grounds, it won't catch them up.
When are we looking to enroll this or roll it out?
Well, of course, this is a proposal. It has to be funded. And if it is, then we'll immediately begin the preparation to hopefully be able to start the delivery of services as early as the summer. and then move forward into the next school year. However, that's a vision, you know,
right.
we at this point, and again, it is one of the tiered items in our proposal at this point.
Okay.
And so, but very important, because I mentioned the middle school piece and what it would do, what it will do and is designed to do. I mentioned the high school piece with securing the necessary items that would impact focusing on a student that is so far behind on Carnegie credits that they can't get caught up, but building a customized plan for them on in a non-traditional setting and getting them back on track. Impacts all of our high schools. It impacts the graduation rate, and it impacts the dropout rate, because many of these students become targets for dropout at the middle level and the high school level. The last piece is that we also plan to attract back students that have dropped out and bring those students to the point that we can make them career and college ready. So huge potential impact for our system to deliver a service that we've not been able to deliver before. Yes.
Great. Dr. Thornton, what's up next with the budget process?
Well, as Dr. King mentioned, we're in the proposal phase, so there's a tremendous amount of work to be done. Over the next several weeks throughout the month of March, the school board will engage in public budget work sessions. Well, they will discuss and deliberate and perhaps ask for different scenarios around the proposed budget to ultimately take action on March 26th. Action that would include adoption of the school board's budget. It would then be transmitted over to the city manager for consideration and inclusion in his proposed budget. This proposal, as we mentioned, it would request an additional $11 million from the city. So we know that the city is having challenges. So we would expect that the school board will engage in some very thoughtful deliberations over the next several weeks.
Great, and let's hope that the public comes out to the public hearings and voice their opinion and share their support for Norfolk Public Schools.
Absolutely.
I thank you two for coming on the show today to discuss the budget and bring people up to date as to what we're doing here in Norfolk Public Schools. We want to thank you for watching NPS Now today. It airs weekly on WNPS Channel 47, or you can watch us online at www.npsk12.com. Again, thank you for watching NPS Now.